Recording in progress.
Wow, all right. I will call the Finance Administration Committee meeting to order for Thursday, December 18th, 2025. My name is Jim Spear. I'm the chair of this committee. With us, Mike Salmonson is the vice chair, and Michael Gardini is the council member, third council member of this committee. And with us, as always, is Maggie Dobbs, the borough manager, and Emily Pisano, the assistant borough manager. And let's have a motion for approval of the November minutes.
So moved. Second.
Okay, everyone have a chance to review the minutes that are in the packet?
Yes.
Packet, yes. Now there's one thing, the packet still has Michael
being absent.
marked as absent, so.
Oh, okay. I changed that on our draft,
Okay.
our actual hard copy one.
Oh, okay.
But I just forgot to change
Okay.
the packet.
No problem.
With that change.
With that change, let's vote on the minutes, accepting the minutes for November. All in favor, or 3 in favor and none against. Thank you. Treasurer's report, Ms. Dobbs.
Yes, so I realized this was run on the 10th. We did sit down with our CPA earlier this week, and we made kind of final adjustments to correct for some of the things that we've been talking about needing correcting. So some of the things that I've been mentioning that we will be correcting were corrected, but just after this report was run. So there's a couple things where we exceed our budget kind of by more than what we should. So things like, so we corrected, and you'll see in later on in the packet, we're discussing some budget amendment items as well. But we have realignment of our liability insurance. So these are all of the account codes that end in .352. So this is our property and liability insurance. We have a set amount that we pay every year in quarterly installments. They were just kind of misaligned across the different liabilities. So they still show up as incorrect on this report, but they have been corrected as of, I think, Tuesday. The other thing I wanted to point out, for the most part, we're within budget for a lot of our professional services. We are a little bit over budget for some of our traffic engineering. This is just a result of the fact that we did the stormwater bump outs and the road program and the sidewalk program this year. So those, some of those are paid out of capital, but they show up under the services here. So we're a little bit over for that, but overall, we're in good shape with our expenditures. And like I said, we kind of tightened up a couple of things. Just want to see if there's anything else to point out in particular that I had flagged. We had talked about, so going down to the fire company equipment fund, you'll notice there's the $80,000 there. That's because the borough did not, because of the manager transition at the end of last year, we neglected to contribute our $40,000, which we had budgeted for 2024 in 2024, so we made up for that payment. So we made 2 payments this year, so we are whole now with our contributions to the fire equipment fund, but that's why we have double the amount there. The fire company also contributes $40,000 annually to that, so we did just receive their contributions this year. So everyone is all caught up. We are whole for that, but it does show up as double what we had budgeted for. Otherwise, you'll note that we have some additional overtime in the Public Works Department. We had a pretty snowy season, January, February, and we've already started getting into, snow removal this year. So we did up that a little bit to account for some of the expected overtime, plus all of our special events. Our Public Works crews put in a lot of overtime for that. So we did adjust for that in our budget for 2026. And then I also wanted to point out this parking meter maintenance is a negative number. That's another something that we corrected. This is for 430.250. This was another thing that we corrected with our CPA. So this was just an invoice for the installation of the parking meters for, I believe it was 100 Forest, the land development with Jenny's. That got billed and flagged to this, but it shouldn't have been, so we've corrected that in the accounting books. So that's just an invoice because we paid for the installation of the parking meters, but that was something that the land developer actually owed us as part of the installation. So we paid for it, and then he was going to pay us back So anyway, we've corrected that, it's just an accounting thing as to where it gets assigned. So that will now show up as a positive number. And it will be within budget, so you'll see that coming up.
We'll see that next month, you mean, or like for the?
Yes, for the closeout, so when you take a look at the final December numbers, they should all even out, so the things that I'm talking about will show up in the final December.
Great.
That was kind of the big things that we had looked at. You know, just as we're wrapping up the 201 Sabine management fees, those are also above what we had budgeted for. Again, that's in part because we had the transition to the new management firm. So we had some kind of blips with some like sign-on management fees, just transitioning over into that contract. But otherwise, we're very tight to our budget on the whole. So we're looking good, we're in good shape. You know, and as we discussed earlier, the additional EIT that we've collected this year has really helped to cover some of those costs. So we should, you know, we're anticipating to end the year on a nice note.
Any update on the liquid fuel funds issue?
No.
Okay.
You're talking about the for the street light?
Close out, yeah.
Right. No, I still have not. I have been attempting to contact the consultant from Keystone Lighting Solutions for months,
Yeah.
and he is non-responsive to that. We do have to resolve the matter by the end of January. Otherwise, we will be ineligible for our liquid fuels allocations for 2026.
I wonder if John should just send them a.
At this point, I think.
You know, I put that in the email because I just think he's obviously ignoring you, and I don't want to. I mean, it's not just that we lose that money, but we have then put future money at risk, right? If we're non-compliant.
We're not going to put future money at
Okay.
risk. We will come into compliance one way or the other. The idea, though, is that we signed up for this streetlight replacement project with the understanding that that money would be covered
Yeah.
under our liquid fuels allocations. So we have the money, we can pay it back so that we're not going to jeopardize our 2026 liquid fuels.
Okay.
The issue, though, is that we had, you know, we set out to do this program a couple years ago, you know, thinking that, and of the understanding that that was going to be covered by liquid
Right.
fuels. So we would like to have that funding source come through,
Yeah.
as was promised by the consultant back at that time. But worst case scenario, we just have to pay the money back from our general funds to our liquid fuels fund, and
Okay.
we are.
I was
hopeful
more
that-
worried about future, you
No,
know, if
I'm
it's a
not gonna
one-time.
No, I'm not.
you know,
I'm not going
that's-
to jeopardize.
yeah,
I'm not
okay.
going to jeopardize. I mean, it's a chunk of money.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to jeopardize our
Okay.
liquid fuels allocations to try to stick this one. So
Okay.
we'll do everything that we can to get the consultant to respond to our request. But if he fails to respond, then we will go ahead and just make that financial transfer and confirm with PennDOT that we're in good standing and we will be fine to get our 2026 allocation.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else? No questions? Okay. Thank you. We'll move on to our presentation item, which is a planning commission recodification of zoning ordinance update from planning commissioner member Todd Bressi, who's here online with us. Hello, Todd.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi,
Thanks for
everyone.
joining us.
So
Yeah.
I assume this is all working?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we have to stop meeting like this, you know, on these Thursday evenings. But the good news is we might. We are making progress. The report I have begins actually with a timeline that came to the Planning Commission from the Borough Office. The Borough Office has asked that there be a final draft of the recodification that we're working on for the Planning Commission to consider in January and to make a recommendation to Council. I can talk to you in a minute about what Adam and I have been doing in regard to that. And then the timeline is that Council would be able to consider authorizing advertisement of the zoning recodification ordinance in January, and would be able to consider adoption of the ordinance in February. This implies that council's interest right now is in simply having a recodified code considered as legislation, and not to add in any major policy changes at that time. And I'm really just reading from notes that we received from the borough office, and I'm sure the borough manager can fill you in on that, and that may be direction that this committee gave. So anyway, that means we are in a tight time frame to complete this. What we've done since we last met is we received feedback from the borough manager and from the borough zoning officer, who took a draft of the code and tried to evaluate different kinds of typical and recent land development applications against the code. And there were some technical comments, but by and large, I think that the code worked for them in the reviews. One issue that the borough manager flagged is the question of how the organization of the 5A district is handled. The way that the idea is that in the 5A district there are really different rules that apply depending on what block you're on, and so that for clarity's sake, those ought to be all aggregated and organized so it's easier for people to find the rules that apply to their particular block. That is the goal. Because right now, as with many things, you have to look at different places to find those rules, and it would be better to consolidate them all in one place. The challenge is to do that without resulting in a zoning map amendment, which is a different approval process. I think the direction was the borough would like to avoid the map amendment process and simply handle this through a text amendment. So that's probably the most significant bit of feedback that we received. So what is happening now is after the Planning Commission meeting at the beginning of this month, Adam Shantz, our consultant from MCPC, and I met, and we made a game plan for taking the feedback we've gotten. Adam is working on certain tasks. He actually will be considering that question of how to handle the 5A district. Adam is much more conversant with the municipal planning code and those types of things. So he will look at how to address that feedback that we received from the borough manager. He'll be in particular paying attention to areas of definitions. I've asked him to take a fresh look at the nonconformities section. Although things were arranged there, it wasn't really edited. And he's also making sure all the cross-reference links are in place and working. My task is I have about 100 little questions that really involve making sure that the code that exists now is properly transferred to this draft code, and I'm working my way through them. We plan to touch base tomorrow and actually frequently during the break when I personally will have a little more time to work on it. And you couldn't get this far in a presentation about recodification without admitting you're something of a zoning geek. So he and I have actually set aside a whole day in the week of between Christmas and New Year's where we will get together and kind of together go through hopefully what'll be the final things that we need to iron out. So that is our plan at this point, and that is the direction we've gotten from the borough office. And I will pause there to see if there's questions or if there's anything, Maggie, that you would like to add or clarify.
No, I think you did a good job summarizing, Todd. So if the committee has any questions.
When we get to the point of full council considering advertising this, is there some presentation that they should receive, that will, it's really only to assure them that it's policy neutral, that we're passing something that is, that doesn't veer from the zoning we have already.
Yes, and my understanding is that Adam Shantz will be pulling that together
Okay.
to come up with a presentation to summarize
Okay.
kind of what's been done. I know, and Todd, you're probably more versed on this, but as we've been going through, there have been things that have been flagged as things that should be updated in order to kind of make the whole come together, and then things that have flagged that would be considered a change in policy that would be considered for future updates. And there's some that kind of fall somewhat in the gray area where it is somewhat of a policy change, but it's a necessary change that you know, based on us going through with a fine-tooth comb, seeing some of these maybe inconsistencies, they should be corrected at the time that we do the recodification, so they do somewhat fall as a policy change. But again, really go towards ensuring that we have consistency across the code, and that the original intent that currently exists is actually being executed through administration of the ordinance. So Adam will kind of pick out those particular things and review them so that it's policy neutral, and there's a few things that should be corrected through this process. Todd, anything else to add to that?
No.
And the January advertising seems
Doable.
Doable.
I think it's highly ambitious, but that's what we're working towards.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Todd, you shouldn't, my view is always, you want to get it right rather than rush. So to some extent, it's an artificial deadline. So, we want it by January so we can go on to the next things, but we'd rather be right than president, or right than whatever, rushed.
Yeah, right.
So if it doesn't happen, it's not like we're gonna hit you over the head with a wet noodle.
You're gonna set aside a whole day of Christmas for this.
Yeah,
sounds like.
I feel a little bad about that, I have to admit.
Well, it's very hard for us to get together in the course of a normal work week.
Yeah.
So that's really a good way to get focused time.
Okay.
That's great.
But thank you, Mike, for those comments. That's good to know. And obviously, if we had concerns about what we were bringing forward, we would share them with you.
Yeah. I just know in writing briefs and things, the whole point of this is to clear things up that maybe were misdrafted before, so let's not compound the error or create new ones, right?
Correct.
Okay. Great.
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you for inviting me here, and good to see you all.
Thanks.
See you soon.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good holiday.
Thanks, Todd.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.
You too. Good holiday.
Okay, let's move on to action items. First is the schedule of bills.
I move to approve the schedule of bills for the general capital sewer and solid waste funds totaling $1,199,117.76. Second.
Okay, discussion on this. See any
I didn't see anything.
bills that jump out at you you'd like explained to you? Nobody?
No.
Anything super unusual?
Yeah, so as we are now getting into the bridge work, we are starting to see some of those payments coming in. So you'll see in the schedule of bills, we have a $349,512 bill that we paid to Roadcon, which is the bridge contractor. This is the first payment that we received for all of our invoices for Roadcon, who is the contractor, and then TPD. So you'll see them traffic planning and design, which is on the same page here. Traffic planning and design serves as both as our construction management and construction inspection. So CMCI, we love acronyms. So TPD is our CMCI consultant, and Roadcon as the bridge contractor. The two of them, when they submit their bills, they submit them directly to the state, and the state processes those payments, and then sends us the money So RoadCon and TPD have not been paid yet at this point, so they submit their invoices to the state pays us, we pay them. So the money that you see here, the $349,000 to RoadCon, and then the $18,000 that we paid to TPD during this time frame, this is all money that is passed through. We received the money, we turned around and cut the checks. We have 10 days in order to pay them once we receive the money, and it's a direct deposit from the state into our accounts. So this is not money that's coming out of our account that we're waiting for reimbursement.
Yeah.
Now, the money that we pay, you'll see, we do pay Amtrak and Pannoni. So Amtrak here, that $8,400, and then Pannoni, this $9,300. This is separate from our regular Pannoni payment. This Pannoni payment is specifically for the bridge. So, right, so this is all coming out of capital. This is our capital. So anything capital Pannoni is going to be bridge, and then Amtrak is bridge. Those two payments are not passed through. We do pay those out of pocket, and then we submit for reimbursement from the state and have to wait for reimbursement.
Okay.
The reimbursement, though, takes a little bit longer to get through. So I'm still waiting on reimbursement from the last of our design phase, which I submitted in August, and we still don't have that money yet. I think this was also delayed because of the government shutdown, or the budget. Not the shutdown.
Yeah.
What's going on at state and federal? Because of the budget impasse at the state level, I think delayed some of the processing of those payments. I'm hoping that this isn't delayed too long. But what I'm doing is we're paying these bills, and then I'm turning around and now on a monthly basis submitting for reimbursement for these expenses. So these we are going to be out of pocket. We have some money left over in our bridge fund. We have about $150,000 left over in our bridge fund, which is earmarked money that we have to spend on the bridge project. So for now, until we draw down those funds entirely, we're paying these out of bridge fund. We're paying
Bank
these out
account.
of, it's a bank account.
Yeah,
just
it's
a
basically our bank account for the
bridge.
front payments.
But that was all money that we had received through the loan, and so that's earmarked money.
Yeah.
We draw down that money. Once that money is gone, it's gone, and we can close that account. So we have our bridge loan bank account that we're using. So we're paying out of capital for Amtrak and Pannoni for the non-pass-through money.
Yep.
We're paying out of capital. We're taking the money from the bridge loan, and we're reimbursing our capital from that dedicated earmarked pot of funds. Once that money draws down, then we just pay out of capital, and then we submit for reimbursement. The reimbursement comes through to our general fund. The general fund pays the capital fund back. So it's a circular economy. It's a little bit of a hassle, but that's how we're working it now. So there's two buckets. We have our reimbursement funds, which is to pay Amtrak and Pannoni. And at this point, Pannoni, we're paying them for construction design construction. Construction engineering, that's what it is. We were paying them for engineering design, and now it's engineering construction, and then we're paying Amtrak for the work that they're doing, and then RoadCon and TPD is the pass-through money. So reimbursement money, pass-through money, and that's what you're going to see on these bills for the next 4 years.
Makes sense.
That's clear. So you must have a sheet somewhere else that shows you what's waiting for reimbursement.
I do. Yes.
Because these items aren't really technically things we're paying for in the end. So it's almost like they're not in our budget. I mean, they are, but they're not.
Yeah, and so this is initially when we were talking last year about our capital plan, we had some concerns about just a cash flow issue because of having to pay these funds. The big relief was the fact that the big ticket items, so our RoadCon and our TPD payments, you'll see how much more those are compared to Amtrak and Pannoni. We were concerned that those would be reimbursement, not pass-through.
Right.
So that would have put a big dent in our capital funds because we would have had to essentially reserve those funds to pay. And there's going to be some bills as we get further into the actual construction process. Right now it's all, the setup and the utilities organization, but in about a year and a half when we actually start the demolition, that $349,000 might be double that. So it's really good for us that this is a pass-through, so we're able to manage our cash flow much better.
Okay,
Other questions?
Makes sense.
No? Let's vote on approving scheduled bills. All in favor? That is 3-0. Approve the bills. 3. All right. Next item is Resolution 2025-22, which is the 2026 tax rates.
So move to recommend approval.
second.
Okay? Which are no change from last year, right? That's the bottom line on this.
That's correct.
For
Millage
real
is
estate,
exactly the same.
real estate millage. It stays the same, which is just for everyone's-
9.865 mils.
All right, all in favor? Okay, all against? Yes, 3-0. No change in mill rate. Okay. Resolution 2025-23, boards, commissions, and committees.
I move to approve resolution 2025-23 regarding boards, commissions, and committees.
Second?
Okay, how do we want to handle this? Because this actually just has the blank exhibit,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, this is the
Yeah,
way it
so-
should be, I think.
Right.
It's blank, so the idea being that
We have to
the
write, yeah.
council gets to
Yeah.
vote on who goes in.
Right.
Now, I will say, for all but one of the boards and commissions,
Yeah.
there's only as many people either applying new applications or requesting reappointments as there are open seats,
Right.
except for Parks and Rec. Parks and Rec, we
Yeah.
have more applicants
Right.
than we have available seats. For the most part, a lot of these terms also are the same, so we have, so if you supported the folks who are requesting reappointment or new appointments for the open seats, you could just say anybody who applied or has requested reappointment for those seats can, you're making the recommendation that they would be appointed to those new terms. The terms, again, like I said, for the most part, when there's more than one seat available, are the same term expiration,
Yep.
except for the IDA has different available terms. This is because everybody in the IDA has quit, and so we have some staggered terms because we have people who have resigned mid-term.
Yeah.
So we have open term seats.
Yep.
We also have the PAC, which has, again, a lot of those folks have resigned midterm, so we have a lot of staggered seats there. So there's one term that expires at the end of this year, 2 for next year, and then 1 for 2028.
Yeah.
So that, again, if there's a preference or if somebody has, commented to you that they would like to do it, but they don't want to commit to a full year term, you could choose to appoint them in the term that expires sooner.
Yeah.
But that's going to be, up to you.
Mhm.
But the big one is going to be Parks and Rec because that one has more people.
Yeah,
And I wrote all these out, I had to use that, but when I saw that they were blank, I kind of just tried to.
so I would say in the spirit of the appointments policy that I had in mind, that when it comes to appointing, we would name each office and person individually.
Yes.
Instead of
Yeah.
appointing them en masse. You know what I
Correct.
mean? Okay.
Sure. And I tried to get at that, which is exactly what you said, because everyone's just slotting in with the exceptions that you noted.
Yeah, and I realize, I don't think it's in the F&A packet, but in the business meeting packet, the motion sheet has it all written out to fill in.
Yes,
Okay.
and you literally used that.
Yes.
And I just started plugging in the names so that we could read them
Yeah.
like smoothly.
Yeah.
Because most of them are literally, again, it's like the only person for the thing.
Yeah,
And then the other kind of piece which you noted was like, there's certain ones where the terms are expiring, and I kind of took the approach was to say like, take the police advisory committee as an example. It looks like there's 4 vacancies,
Mhm.
and there's 3 people who we have names for.
right.
So I kind of thought, well, since all of them seem to have indicated that they have an interest in actually serving and no one was interested in kind of like a truncated term, that maybe we give those 3 folks the longer terms.
Why not?
Because
Yeah.
they seemed the most motivated to get their applications in. And then with the IDA, it was similar. I think we technically have Dennis Brogan indicated interest, but also his first choice was the police advisory.
Mhm.
So I asked him if it comes down to it, if he would be willing to kind of serve on both, and he said, if you can't find anyone. So I figured, don't appoint him to IDA right now, but if we can't get interest in either of the other 2 slots, which I think we might be able to, but if we can't, then we can always slot him into the short slot if needed in the future.
In the future, yeah, I think we're gonna have to do some additional recruiting after tonight for some of these vacancies that remain.
Yeah.
And I will say, it is honestly critically important that we get folks in on IDA.
IDA, right.
Because they have legal annual financial reporting that currently no one is doing because no one is taking ownership of the IDA. It's actually extremely problematic.
Yeah. And I think we will have interest in those other 2 slots.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But again, even if we're unable to generate interest even by the beginning of the year, then Dennis indicated that he would be open to kind of filling in on that until,
That's great.
yeah.
And did Ira say he would be interested?
That's
Yeah.
what I was
That's
thinking,
what I
that Ira
thought.
said he'd be
That's what-
interested
yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
I thought
He said he might be interested. He doesn't want to take a lead position, but he did say that he would go back on IDA now that his council term is expiring.
Yeah, so that's why I was costing in that he would probably apply for that after he is done with council.
Mhm.
And there was one other person out there who I think was interested, but I hadn't seen their application come in, and I wanted to follow up and confirm that they were still interested.
So this is maybe jumping ahead to the discussion item, but do we have descriptions of each of these positions and committees somewhere? I could have sworn I saw one when we were reviewing the website that they were being
Yeah,
drafted.
it should all be on the website.
Could not see those.
Also, Jim, Lisa Driven.
Yeah, that's her.
Okay,
Yes.
I just got her email 5 minutes ago.
Okay.
That would be for who?
It's a 4th person for
For Parks and Rec.
Rec.
On Parks and Rec, I also wanted to note, I think everyone's already aware of this, but Ryan O'Donnell was the person who last time had submitted
Absolutely.
and then showed up, and then we didn't ask him
Absolutely.
anything, and then we appointed someone else. So I wanted to flag that he has reapplied.
Yep,
Again.
and with a lot of a pretty thorough application.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I remember at that time, even at the time he applied, we had too many spots for that seat. And we
Right.
were talking about the idea of having an alternate on that committee, but that would have to be further considered, I think, because we would have to make room in the ordinance for one. So I gather we cannot appoint, or can or should not appoint an alternate tonight. But we might be able to do it in the near future if we wanted to change that. Is that sort of the gist of it?
Yeah, so we were talking about the interest in kind of appointing alternates. Currently, the boards and commissions that have alternates have so because they're enabled to do so in their enabling legislation. So either in the ordinance, in the MPC for planning commission, the alternate seat is legitimate and defined in the origination documents
Yep.
that form that council or the committee or board. The Parks and Rec, being purely advisory, existing only locally in our ordinances, does not allow for an alternate. It's not a defined seat, so there is no like legal alternate seat to which somebody can be appointed. So there's no legal mechanism then, so if they were to step in as an alternate, they're not technically a voting member, because there's no appointment seat to be made as an alternate.
Yeah.
So we'd have to update, they're a purely local entity.
Correct, yeah.
So we'd have to update that in their enabling legislation.
Yeah, which is different, the Civil Service Commission, which other ones were we saying?
Civil service has it by
Human relations.
state
Human
statute.
relations.
Yeah,
So
PC has
they-
it by state statute.
So there's state statutes that kind of form the legal framework for
Mhm.
the makeup of these boards and commissions. Parks and Rec does not, because it's local only.
So is that maybe something we could consider in the new year, is which of these boards and commissions could have an alternate, that we would have to actively create one for?
I think that would be kind of the cleanest,
Mhm.
most well-defined way to do it, is that if there's not a pre-existing kind of state legislation or local legislation that says that there is such a thing as an alternate seat, that we would then want to amend the ordinance for the Parks and Rec committees specifically to allow for it.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good? Okay, so what are we approving here? What's the resolution?
That's what I was trying to figure out when I made my first comment is, I guess we're recommending that we fill the seats for which there are sufficient slots. I think council as a whole has to decide on the staggered terms, who gets which slot.
Right.
And then we're gonna have to also, council's gonna have to decide on Parks and Rec specifically.
Emily did send out the form, so the form is blank, but if you want to follow along who's applied for what, if you check Emily's email from yesterday,
Yeah,
from last
I got
night,
that.
Right.
that has
Yeah.
everyone listed kind of within their
Except
board or
that,
commission.
I think the third and now the fourth person for Park and Rec is not in that.
Yeah, we
Right.
haven't received your applications yet.
Because we received both
Right,
of those
okay.
today.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so we're gonna have to discuss this. Okay.
So what's the, I'm sorry, what is the
So we're
resolution?
recommending that we approve the appointment of the people for which there are sufficient slots.
Yep,
Defer to council as a whole,
yep,
the situation where there are staggered terms to decide who decides which term, and for Parks and Recreation, we're just recommending that council as a whole determine who gets appointed.
okay.
Okay?
All in favor of that? 3-0. Oh, all against? Nobody's against that.
Yeah.
All right, next item is
I'll pass.
2025 budget amendment number 2.
I move to approve 2025 budget amendment number 2.
Second.
And what is that?
All right, so this is going to be on page 89 in your packets. If you want a minute to scroll to that
Yeah.
page.
Okay.
You do it right at the bottom. Type in 89.
Let me know when we're all there.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, Jim?
Yep.
All right, so we did a budget amendment earlier this year. Now that we're at the end of the year and we have more firm numbers as to kind of where we fall with the budget, I'm proposing that we do a budget amendment number 2. This is just to kind of help smooth out our budget because we spent a little bit more money in some cases and spent a little bit less money in other cases. So all we're doing here is just to help with the audit process, just to smooth out some of those numbers, to reflect actual spending. We also did some work this year on creating 2 separate line items out of what had been in our building permit fees. So right now our building permit fees seem artificially inflated because we don't have a lot of specificity when it comes to that, which is totally fine and legal. But what we'd like to do is become a little bit more nuanced in understanding where our money is going. So our building permit fees right now include contractor registration fees, so our building permit fees really represent a pass-through fee. We collect the building permit fees, we pay Yerkes to then inspect those projects. So we collect the money, we pay Yerkes. It's not always a one-for-one, but that in effect is the revenue from building permit fees are not a revenue stream necessarily that we retain. That is to then just pay for the services for the BCO to do the work.
But the registration is
Registration
almost
fees
like
though is an
like a
administrative.
business privilege, we actually get
Correct.
that money.
Correct.
Yeah,
So
makes
the
sense.
contractor registration fees are an administrative revenue that we retain. Yerkes has nothing to do with us receiving, processing
Yep.
those. That is work that's done by Kelsey, so that is an administrative task, that's revenue that we keep, that is, goes to essentially offset the cost of the administrative time spent processing those registration fees. So we felt that that was important to separate out. And then we also, so you see, we created the new contractor registration fees, and then it's not adding any new money or adding new revenue. It's literally, right now that falls within the building permit fees, so we're just separating it out. So we're putting $2,000 into this new line item, taking out the same $2,000 from the building permit fees. So you can tell, I mean, the building permit fees are a huge number, so this is a very small percentage of it, but I do feel it's important to pull that out because, as yes, Mike said, it's something that we keep.
All right.
The parking lot license fee, this is a new expense category. This has to do with the Haverford Avenue parking lot. We have to pay Tim Rubin the parking lot license fee. This wasn't included in the budget. I actually was unaware that this was a fee that we had to pay, and I came across it after I had drafted the 2026 budget. So you'll see this is also then going to show up in 2026. And we're just going to add it in for 2025 to account for the fact that we need to pay him that per our license agreement. And then the rest are just some modifications of adjustments to cover some of the expenditures. The software subscription fees, that's for police. And the property and liability, that's for Saveline. And then we ended up spending less in solicitor's fees than we had budgeted for, so we were able to reduce that line item, which then kind of right sizes that budget amount a little bit closer, and then accounts for the increases in the budget items for the other things. So this just kind of corrects and makes more accurate our budget numbers. So that is what we were proposing to make changes to.
Okay.
Good. All right. Should we vote on that, budget amendment number 2?
Yeah.
All in favor? All against? That's 3-0. Next item is authorized advertisement of ordinance 1068, changes to Peace Planning Commission and Environmental Advisory Council membership.
Recommend approval of advertising ordinance 1068.
Second.
Okay. And
So basically increasing
increasing planning to 7, back to 7.
back to
And
7.
is it decreasing
Yes.
EAC?
Yes,
Yes.
down to 5,
Yeah.
and that's
okay.
at their request.
Yeah, okay.
We've talked about
We have no
this
reason to
before.
question that. Let's
Yeah.
vote on this. All in favor of that? That's great. Passes 3-0. Approval of updates to employee handbook.
I move to approve the updates to the employee handbook.
Second?
It looks like, Maggie, this is just a single change about hours and,
Yeah, so this is because right now Kelsey and Kathleen are both considered exempt employees,
Mhm.
but under the Fair Labor and Standard Act, they actually should be non-exempt and should be hourly instead of salary. So they don't meet the criteria to be exempt employees. So we are transitioning them as of January 1st, the first pay period of the new year, to be exempt employees, I'm sorry, non-exempt. Our handbook right now only treated public works employees as the only non-exempt employees, and their hours are a little bit different. And so we just wanted to make sure that we accounted for the fact that there's administrative non-exempt and public works non-exempt in kind of how the work week and hours operated. What this means too is that they're going to be dropping down technically to a 35-hour a week, so they're still full-time. Currently, they, as exempt employees, they get a paid hour lunch. As non-exempt employees, they get an unpaid hour lunch, which means that they're only getting paid for 35 hours a week. So the number of hours worked is the same as what's going on today. So literally nothing changes in terms of how much they're working. This just means that they don't get the hour paid lunch. So they're, in terms of their like hour, their rate per hour, it's based on a 35-hour work week.
right. So if they make overtime, but your overtime rate is based on your hourly rate, so
Yeah.
it does change if they work more than 40.
So this is going
40.
to
Well, it would, yeah,
So you still
overtime.
get straight hours from 35 to 40,
Mhm.
but if you go over 40, you get time and a half under the Fair Labor Standards
Yeah.
Act. So if the hourly rate changes, that rate then changes.
Okay, so this reflects a change in their compensation overall.
It does not.
No,
It does
only if they would go over 40 hours.
But they're not getting a paid lunch. No.
Right, so what we're doing is, right now they're salaried, so.
You're getting a higher hourly rate than.
Okay.
That's,
Okay.
yeah, that's great. So, so right now they're getting paid a salary. If you were to take 40 hours, because they work 40 hours, but they get a 1 hour paid lunch.
Mhm.
So if you were to figure out the hourly rate under a 40 hour, they're
It's
actually
actually
getting paid a
less.
higher per hour rate because they're getting an unpaid lunch. So this assures that they still are getting paid the same amount. We're not
Okay.
decreasing their pay. We're not actually decreasing their working hours. We're just defining them differently
Yeah, okay.
in payroll.
So everybody's happy. It's good. Okay. Sounds good. All right, let's vote on that, please. All in favor of the employee handbook update? Thank you, 3-0. Last action item is confirmation of Fire Chief Francis Dixon.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. He's already the fire chief, right? So this is,
Yes, and he has been for
Yeah.
time immemorial.
we do this every year? Is that
Yes,
right?
every 2 years.
Oh, every 2 years. Okay. Let's vote to confirm Francis Dixon, fire chief, or recommend confirmation. That's 3-0. Okay, let's quickly touch on these discussion items. Boards and commissions, charges. I made updates on the online sheet that you all have access to, the Google sheet. I made updates based on our discussion last month. It just should reflect those changes. I think we might just need some offline creativity to maybe to see where we go from here. So everything is either, looks like everything's, the vast majority of the boards and commissions report to public health and safety, and pretty much the rest of them falls to us to sort of, gather a year report of some kind. Let's just leave it there for now. We're going to develop that as we go forward. Next item, 2026 meeting dates, which are,
We're listening to the tree.
yeah,
Yep. Okay.
that's okay with everybody. It's the most logical time for us to do that. I know we only get an hour, as we're seeing tonight. It's a hard stop. Okay, can we vote on that? Oh, we don't, no, wait, we're not voting on that. It's just discussion.
Just discussion.
Yep.
Okay. Let's move on to EIT FAC. The Berkheimer has its own FAC. I had the idea that I would really like to produce some extra questions, frequently asked questions, maybe some scenarios, like,
Yep.
I work at this.
I work in
my
Philly,
wife- My wife works here,
Yep.
what can we do?
Yep.
So I think maybe just some creativity time and not coming up with some questions
Sure. Yep.
that we could consider having like a local version of the fact too, or like a supplement.
Yeah.
Okay, let's leave that also. Review of ongoing projects, there are none. Public comment, anyone here in the public would like to make, anybody? No, nothing? Okay, anyone online at this meeting? There appears to be nobody online at this meeting. May I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor of adjourning at 6:49? We are adjourned, thank you.
Wow, we rushed.